welcome to Day One Pass Podcast, episode 286. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Matt Lawrence is here.
Yeah, I am.
Tim is away.
I was gonna say he had an accident, but then that's too ambiguous, and then it would have to be like a household accident, which, like...
He got sucked into his Animal Crossing world.
That sounds better, because it's like a household accident. Chances are, because he lives, like, it's not like he's, like, going out and, like, living in the outback, so it's not like he's getting attacked in his backyard. He lives in a city, so it's like, what accident could have, like, taken his...
Paper cut.
A paper cut took his life. That's horrible. Watch, we're gonna have people writing in now, like, I had family members die in the home due to accidents.
Yeah. I don't deal with paper much anymore.
Actually, that, like, funny enough, like, several times now I've been asked for paper, and they're like, you have any paper down here? Like, no. I don't need paper down here.
Yeah,
like,
I don't use paper anymore.
What's actually horrible is my writing is suffering. I have trouble writing.
Yeah, same here.
It's really bad. Although I don't know if it's bad. It's just different.
This is when computers were first like taking hold in schools and businesses and stuff. They all predicted a paperless future, and it took 50 years for that to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it's just a sign of the times, I guess.
I think most modern workplaces probably are pretty paperless, other than like legal stuff and whatnot.
I will say, and like you've seen it, I have a table full of mail that I have to deal with. And I am not, like, my actual company is all digital. It's websites and stuff like that, so all digital. And I still have, for personal and for business, like, a copious amount of paper. And, like, 50% of it at least is filed, and the rest is being, you know, quote-unquote dealt with. And my lord, is there a lot of paper. Like, there's a lot of paper. It's ridiculous.
So some of the top stories for this week. Big news was Assassin's Creed Valhalla was officially announced, and we got a bit of a cinematic trailer that was like 4 minutes long. We got some screenshots, and we got a ton of information, actually. IGN put together a nice list, and so we'll go through all the different changes. Geoff Keighley announces a 4-month summer game fest. It's kind of like his replacement to E3, so he's throwing that together. The Last of Us Part 2 leakers have been identified by Sony. We got The Last of Us Part 2 download size is 100 gigabytes. And then Brothers in Arms, this is a close to your heart, Matt. He's getting a TV show adaptation. And then also the Query Corner question. But first, Matt, what's new?
So this week, I actually started playing a little bit of, 76 still, but I actually started playing or continuing a little more AC Origins. I actually
Very topical?
Very topical. I guess so. Yeah. So I just casually one night, I had a headache and I took a nap, and then when I woke up, I was like, oh, I'm pretty tired. Like, I don't want to be chatting, so I'm just gonna log in and just do a little bit of single player. So I did little AC Origins. And got a few achievements, or at least worked towards them. I don't remember exactly what I got. I'm basically working toward a platinum overall, so that's kind of where I'm at there. And I started watching, actually, Money Heist on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And that show's pretty crazy. Like, crazy as in, like, really shocking at times. It's really good. I really like it. I believe it... No, it definitely is. It's a Spanish show. So you can either watch it, as far as I know, with the cutscenes, but I just left the dub on because I'm watching it like virtually with somebody else over the internet, so I'm not going to have us both trying to sync up our closed captioning. Like, that's out of control. So I'm just listening to the English dub, but it's really good. There's definitely a couple of like B plots that like, you know, end up coming to fruition, but I just feel like they're a little on the nose sometimes. Like there was one very, very minor spoiler. There's one reveal of a character, and we've seen this character throughout most of the show. We know who he is, everything. And then he appears in a scene in which you don't think he could appear in. And it shows him, like, clear as day. Not in the background or, like, you know, really obscure. He's clear as day. He's in the background, but he's right there. You can see him. And it's like, dun 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 dun. I was like, all right, like, this is a little on the nose here. And it kept going. Dun dun dun. I was like, all right, we like there he is, like he's right there, like I can see him. like what's happening? Like is that what I'm supposed to be doing as an audience? Like, oh my god, like what's happening here? Like, but everything else is really good. It's all about heists, so making money and it's really cool. It's really gritty. It's a different show. Like I would suggest you watch it. I don't know if you've ever seen. I think it's a Denzel Washington movie, Inside Man. Yes, bank robbery movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, Ryan, but
No.
I get those vibes. Now I will say I haven't watched Inside Man since it came out when I was pretty young, but just from my memory of that, those are the two. I'd put those two in the same camp.
I have seen Tower Heist.
Tower Heist.
Yeah, it's a bad movie.
You know what's really sad, actually? What's that new movie? The one with Ryan Reynolds on Netflix. And it's an action movie.
Oh, yeah, I heard that was really bad.
So I actually heard the opposite. I heard it was super popular. People were loving it, and I turned it on, and I've never been so disgusted with a film that I thought was going to be good in my entire life. I cannot express to you the disappointment, because I thought it was going to be like, this is just going to be cheesy, action, and it's not going to be that crazy. And then I watched it and was like, why is it like, it's one of those action movies where there's times where I honestly ask myself, why is it trying to be gritty right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh yeah, like this is super gritty right now. You know what I mean? Like I get that impression. And it's like, why is it gritty? Like, who cares? I don't know. But that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to, Ryan?
The big project I had this week was I put a solid state drive into my PlayStation 4 Pro.
Oh, that's right. And how did that go?
I ran into some hiccups, but nothing serious. For anyone else who's doing this or who may be doing this, there are 2 downloads on PlayStation's website for the OS.
Right.
One is simply the update file. So some people do still download the update file on their PC and then install it on their PS4 manually.
Right.
So there's that option. What you need is like the OS completely. You need the whole thing.
Because
not
you're
just the update
removing the
file.
hard drive, right?
Right. And so you just have to make sure, and it's not too clear on the website, because I got caught up. I saw some other people online got caught up on this. You have to scroll down and find the actual one that has everything. It should be around like a gig. If it's under a gig, then you probably don't have the proper update.
Now, what happened to you? Like, so you downloaded the wrong one at first. What happened to you? Like, was there any data loss or anything like that?
No, so I swapped out the hard drive. I booted it up into, like, it automatically boots up into safe mode, right?
Yep.
And then the only option was to initialize and reinstall OS. You click on that, it will ask you to put in the memory stick with the OS on it.
Right.
And it will scan that stick for the file. And so I kept getting this thing where it said either could not read file or something like saying it's the wrong file.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking it up, and I was going to the Sony chat websites and stuff. And once you have the proper one, it flies through it. It's fine after that.
So just for sort of a high level, so you take your old PS4 hard drive and it was still in the PS4 Pro. You backed it up to an external.
Yep.
And then you then that's done. Turn off the PS4 Pro, unplug the hard drive, take the internal hard drive out, put the SSD in, the new one.
Yep.
Then you go to the site, you download the correct file onto a stick, not onto the drive that has the backup.
I imagine you could, because it looks for a certain file path.
Okay.
So you probably could do that, but no one else really did that, and it didn't say that in the actual official support documents.
So how does it get your files back then, though?
Which ones? The backup files?
Yeah, so like the ones that are on the external drive.
So once the OS is installed, it will reboot automatically.
Right.
And it will be like a brand new PlayStation. And so it will take you through the walk-up. It's like, create a user, and then once you get to the actual menu of the PlayStation, you simply go into your settings, and it's in the same location where you backed up your data, but you want to restore the data. And then once you do that, it's essentially the same PlayStation you had before.
So it wipes that new account that you made in the initial setup and such.
Just replaces everything with the backup.
Now I will say
the only thing you had to do was log into your account again. That's about it.
Like the PSN like credentials.
Yeah, you just need to re-log into your PSN account, and then also I think it does this on its own, but I did this manually. Was the restore licenses?
Oh, you have to do that?
I don't know if you have to, but I think it did say it was doing it in the background.
Right.
But I just know where the setting is, and so I just went and did it. It only takes like a minute, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Now, wouldn't you say that, and this is another PlayStation weird quirk, that in the initial setup it should say restore, and so you don't have to create an account and then get to the menu and then restore and overwrite what you just did?
Yeah, because I'm just thinking like whenever I've like restored some computers and stuff, it's one of the first things it asks, like, are you setting this up as a new computer or from a backup?
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a bit weird. But I mean, this isn't really a system that a lot of people are going to be doing that with.
That's very true.
So it's might not be that big of a deal. Yeah.
Now here's a question for you, and I don't know whether you would know this. Let's say your PS4 Pro broke, and you buy another PS4 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're left with the old hard drive that was the internal of the old PS4 Pro. Can you just swap that hard drive, and or can you somehow get that data off of it to back it up or something onto the new hard drive or onto the new PlayStation 4 Pro that you buy?
I really don't know. I don't know if it's locked to that console itself. I have a feeling because I also upgrade hard drives on my PS3 as well.
Right.
And if I recall, I think you could just swap drives seamlessly. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that was the case.
Interesting.
So yeah, my PS4, it boots up in like half a second. It's insane.
Load times, right?
Load times I have noticed are significantly improved, and just like simply accessing the menu and multitasking is a lot nicer. It's almost like they built the system to be on an SSD, even though it was never made on an SSD. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even things like loading the map on Fallout 76, it always, like, before on the old hard drive, it would like hang on certain things and it wouldn't come up immediately. It'd be really slow at first or whatever. That's gone.
That's gone, like completely gone. You've never
pretty much, yeah. As far as I can tell, the map instantly comes up now.
I wonder if because I remember you mentioned previously that like it was stated, I guess, that the PlayStation 4 was not designed to take advantage of an SSD. Now, I'm not sure how old that statement was. I think that like Sony had said that, or you had read that from somewhere or something. But I wonder if like now it is. Like or it's gotten to the point where it's not actually taking advantage of the SSD programmatically. It's just a matter of it's calling files so fast that the actual hard drive is just a physical bottleneck.
Right.
And so now that bottleneck is relieved, so it could even be faster if they made it do it.
I think that might be the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I will say that there's times, and this is not exaggeration, there are times where you click that map button, and I have a regular PS4 launch day one, and you click that map button, and that thing in 76 will take like 20 seconds sometimes, like legitimately that long. And I've died waiting for it to open before.
Yeah.
Because I can't do anything, so I just get killed.
I'm kind of sad that the next gen's coming up so soon, because it's like I wish I did this like a couple years ago, because it just feels so much nicer. It's incredible.
I agree with you there. Like, I hate the fact that my PS4 doesn't perform all that great, and I hate the fact that I know that putting an SSD in there will help, but I'm not going to do that because I know the PS4 is on its last leg. So
yeah. And with backwards compatibility, you can just take these games over. Hopefully, that's the case.
Oh, I guess speaking of that, I bought a whole bunch of games.
Yeah.
Crazy savings. I bought Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This is all on the PlayStation spring sale. I bought Assassin's Creed Odyssey Ultimate Edition, which includes all the bonus stuff. You know, I don't know if it's missions and, you know, whatever, skins and stuff, whatever it is. It includes the Season Pass, and it also includes an HD version of Assassin's Creed 3 and an HD version of Assassin's Creed Liberation. I also bought Death Stranding, and the regular version, and then I also bought the Season Pass for Far Cry 5, and that came with a free Far Cry 3 Classic Edition. Strangely, though, it never told me that I owned Far Cry 3. I just read it in the description, and then I went to the Far Cry 3 Classic page on PSN, and it was there to install. But before I did that, I checked my existing licenses. You can go in and check like what you own digitally, and it wasn't in there. Then when I went to the actual page manually, it just said install, so it worked. So I pressed install, and then I got a receipt for it.
That was free though, right?
That was free. Oh yeah, I
Okay.
didn't pay anything.
All right, good.
But it was just, I don't know, it's just strange. But all of that, all those games, $97 all in Canadian, which
that's nuts.
That is nuts. Yeah, like nuts.
That's one new game.
It's just usually like with tax. If I went to EB Games and I went and purchased Death Stranding at regular full price, it would have been $92.
Yeah.
And I got like 5-6 games for that. And now I got those 3. I'm obsessed with Far Cry 5, so I'm going back to Far Cry 5, but the reason why I'm comfortable buying stuff like this now, and maybe this is why they announced the backwards compatibility, is I would have never bought this stuff having known that the PS5 was so close.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm comfortable building up my digital collection, knowing that the majority, if not all of it, will go and work on the PS5.
Right. Yeah, the games you bought, like they said, like over 1,000 games, they've officially tested and do work. And I imagine those games you bought are included in those, because those are some of the biggest games that launched on this gen. So,
and they're from like Far Cry is Far Cry is obviously huge. Assassin's Creed huge. Death Stranding is a Sony title, or at least Sony supported.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm in pretty good shape. And even if, let's be serious, even if Far Cry 5 doesn't work, I'll have beat those 3 DLC and be totally fine with that.
Yeah. So that's crazy. That's a really good deal. And just none of that, like hours and hours and hours of games you bought.
It's a little nuts. Like those games are on my list, and I wanted to beat Origins, and then my next game is actually going to be Rage 2. That's going to be one of my summer games, and I have it on my PC, and I was just going to go through that, and then as I got to these other titles, I was going to buy them. And it was total fluke. I was having trouble sleeping one night, and I was like, oh, I forgot that spring sale's on. I wonder if it's still on. Logged in, and for most of those games, it was 5 hours left in the sale. And that's the amount of savings I got. I saved $172, I think it was. Something like that.
Wow.
Just nuts, man.
All right, speaking of Assassin's Creed, a new one was announced, Matt, so you're 2 behind again.
2 behind, but they're kind of designed to be independent now, so that's fine.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So the new game is called Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I guess this was rumored that a more Norse kind of Viking game was going to enter into the Assassin's Creed universe here. So yeah, you do play as a Viking, and it looks like you're fighting the English, and in particular a king. And Marty does not believe that a Viking can be an assassin. He thinks it's a little too out there.
Well, here's a question. So Origins is ancient Egypt, and Odyssey's before that.
Yeah.
Vikings are after all of this, right? Historically?
I think they said this takes place in the 9th century, so that would be after both. Yeah, way after Origins and Odyssey.
So something interesting is said in the trailer, and what it is there's a voiceover. I mean, spoiler for trailer, if that's a thing. Where it's the King of England, I believe, and he's talking about how the Vikings are, they're basically animals, and they don't understand anything but war, and they pillage and kill and all this stuff. And what we see, like what we visually see as this voiceover is being played, is some of those things, like villages being burned and stuff, but we also see them actually having culture, like that you see like the Odin statue doing things that this British king is basically saying they don't do any of this. They're just animals. Yeah. Meanwhile, we're seeing their culture. We're seeing this. I want to know whether the Vikings in this game, and Assassin's Creed isn't always historically accurate, but in this particular game, are they going to represent, you're going to be the character that is an assassin, and you're like a hero to the Vikings, and you brought them like culture and in like, because you seem to be, there's one part where you have a hidden blade and you defeat this big British soldier guy, this like elite British soldier, and I wonder if that's the thing where the actual, like, you're bringing this sort of civilization and this like elegance of the assassins into the Vikings.
Well, what I noticed is like the assassins have never been the power structures in any of these societies.
No.
They've always been the underdogs, or the downtrodden. And it's always been the Templars who are the rulers of the world.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, if you wanted to do a Vikings thing, it's like they kind of could only be the Vikings.
I suppose the Vikings would, or the British would be like that. King is probably a Templar.
Depends when the Templars started, because like Origins, the Templars aren't in Origins yet, right? Or am I wrong?
Well, there's something weird in Origins, actually, and I mean, this is a whole other rabbit hole. I found one of those little computer things, those computer things you can find in tombs, some tombs,
yeah.
in Origins. And, I mean, spoiler for Origins side content. It literally tells you about your story. It says, in 2012, Desmond Miles activates the thing, and humankind continued living. And it tells you what happened in those past games, but future in time. Like, Desmond hadn't been born for, a long time, like after ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
So, this is a crazy theory. What I'm wondering is if Origins is actually the latest in the timeline, or one of the latest between Odyssey and that.
Huh?
I wonder if the world ended again. You see my meaning?
Yeah.
So there's the precursors. They made... This is a massive spoiler for the Assassin's Creed thing. I'm going to tell you this right now. This is a massive spoiler. And like for all the games. There's the precursors. They built all the stuff like the Apples of Eden and such. The Templars and Assassins grow up. And every single time humans get to a certain point or whatever, there's some sort of event that almost completely destroys the humankind. So the precursors, like this has happened over and over and over again, and it reboots civilization across the earth. Basically what happens is the precursors got to a point, they got so advanced that they were aware that this was going to happen, and they built a shield. There was some sort of internal power conflict, of which I'm recalling from memory from years ago, and that shield was never, like, raised. So the precursors got hit and killed, and then that birthed humanity. Basically, the precursors and, I guess, lesser humans, lesser than the precursors, started mating and all the rest of it, and made humankind, because we all have precursor DNA in this thing. So and then Desmond in the year 2012, because it's the Doomsday year, with John Cusack, he I was going to say he drives a limo. Anyway, so there's Desmond, who you've played in multiple of the games. He turns on the shield, he dies, and humankind continues. This little thing I found in Origins states that humankind continued living, blah, blah, blah. And then it says something along the lines of, but it wasn't enough or something, and something a little bit cryptic, it said. And I kind of got out of it that it was hinting at there was another Doomsday event coming, and because we were completely and utterly, ignorant that it happened, it probably happened again. And so you're actually in quote-unquote ancient Egypt too.
Well, I don't know. Aren't the ancient ones though, like, does time really mean anything to them?
The precursors?
Yeah.
It does, because they were killed off. They were killed off because they built a world shield that was going to prevent the world event, which is usually meteors, from hitting the Earth.
They can somehow communicate to different time periods.
Can they do that? I wasn't actually aware of that.
Well, they show up in all the time periods.
Those are recordings.
Yeah, but they're talking about future events, are they not? Unless we're believing what you're saying.
I don't know if they are future events, because I know that the recordings in the vault of Assassins, of the one where you turn on the shield, which I believe was Revelations, is the last one with Desmond Miles. I know that one, I think, yeah, that one, they're just recordings, but they're like intelligent recordings where I guess they kind of like recorded their mind, and so like this AI like interacts like them.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. The Assassin's Creed lore is pretty nuts.
There's even, like, you could tell that series is nuts because there's a part where you just fist fight the Pope. Like, just straight up fist fight the Pope.
I think, yeah, but it's funny because it's something that is would be so insane in real life.
Oh, I know. That's what I mean, though, is that whole series is just like that, where you're like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah. All right, well, let's talk about a bit about what we can expect from this new game. So it is going to follow in the trend of being a action RPG, like just like the last two games. Although I've been seeing a lot of people kind of upset by that. There's still some fans out there who still enjoy the kind of the older Assassin's Creed styles. But I'm very much enjoying the growth of the franchise. I think the old style is kind of becoming stale.
I don't even know whether I consider the new style to be completely like not. It almost feels like an upgrade of the other system. It doesn't feel like they changed the game entirely. The
Right.
world is much larger, but I think that's kind of it, right? Like, I mean, there's like you get different blades and stuff. That's about that. That's really the only
Well,
RPG elements.
Well, Odyssey, you have different armor sets, and it's not just like outfits like Origins. You can choose a helmet and a chest piece, and gauntlets,
Oh, so it's getting more RPG.
and you have dialogue options and choices and stuff. So
Interesting.
it,
Okay.
it it's definitely a progressive line towards more RPG ish. But I've enjoyed Origins and Odyssey, I think, more than a lot of the old Assassin's Creed. I like the story of the old Assassin's Creed games, but I think I like the gameplay better of these two.
I will say the old Assassin's Creed games are old. Like they feel aged.
Yeah, it's been a long time, right? So, if we're
Beginning
looking
of the
at,
PS3, right?
yeah,
Jesus.
open world gameplay combat. Oh, this is the list from IGN that they sourced all these information here. 37 different details. I'm just gonna go through quickly a few of them. We'll stop and talk about anyone that catches our ears, I guess.
Go ahead.
Combat has been altered in some form with an emphasis on making every hit feel impactful. That includes giving players the ability to dismember and decapitate foes. Now, I'm always a fan of that.
I'm a fan of it in this case because I don't know about you, but I always got the impression that when like those animations that are in Origins, for example, are definitely you like essentially cutting off an arm or something, but the arm just doesn't come off.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty violent attacks, and it's just like the body's fully intact and it just lies there.
Just lays there. Although he is covered in blood, which ain't great, but like.
And I do imagine actually cutting off someone's like limbs is probably harder in real life than movies and games make it seem.
I would hope. You can have your head cut off in Skyrim.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard for the enemy to do, and it's harder-ish for you to do, but yeah.
While assassins have had two weapons at once before, two swords, for example, Valhalla places a new emphasis on dual-wielding weaponry, with players allowed to mix and match the game's arsenal.
Interesting.
Shields are returning as part of the arsenal after being absent from Odyssey.
What the hell? There's no shields in Odyssey?
No, you block with your blades.
Interesting. That's weird. Okay.
You get used to it. It's fine.
It's not that different from Origins, right? Like Odyssey isn't.
Not it. The few changes that they made are like vastly better improvements.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a huge difference.
Interesting.
Throwing axes will be available in Valhalla as one of Ivor's many weapon options.
Ah.
Players will traverse by sea via their Viking longship. Players can spot fortresses from the water to attack with their raiding party in massive raids. That kind of sounds like remember Black Flag? You had those like different outposts you could attack on the sea.
Yeah, they were the strongholds. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Large-scale land battles will also be a part of the story, though it's unclear if they'll function like Odyssey's army battles. I didn't find those too fun. So if they've changed that up a bit, that'd be nice.
Maybe that's because that would have been Gen 1 in Odyssey, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this would have been hopefully an improvement.
RPG trappings introduced in Origins will return with new skills as well as new gear to collect. Open world activities include hunting, fishing, dice, and drinking games. Additionally, Valhalla will introduce the competitive sport of fighting, aka Viking rap battles.
What the hell?
I don't know how that's going to work. Ivor, the protagonist, will have a bird companion in the form of a raven, common addition to the most recent Assassin's Creed. So moving on to the story and the world, Valhalla is set in the 9th century England during the Dark Ages. It will follow Ivor, a Viking warrior who leads his people out of Norway into England to settle. King Alfred of Wessex will be an opponent Ivor faces. Ivor in the Vikings face. Let me see. Just gonna skip a few. These are all just kind of.
You know what? You know what all these are kind of boiling down to? It if you notice that all, well, I shouldn't say all. I have like one or two examples, but if you notice that a bunch of the Ubisoft games are boiling down into the same things, so they always are iterative.
Mhm.
But even, for example, Ghost Recon Breakpoint is actually has like speech options and stuff.
Yeah.
So all their games are these absolutely massive maps,
Yeah.
and they're kind of all RPGs, kind of.
Well, what's his name talked about that? How he wants you to play the game how you want to play it, essentially. So they make it as big as possible for the people who want it big,
Right.
but you don't have to do everything.
Well, the you know how the Division has like gear score and such. I heard that Breakpoint has gear score.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if that'll be limited to gun games, or whether we're going to see some gear score brought into. I don't know if it's one of the 37 items, but
Right.
whether it'd be brought into the Assassin's Creed area.
Yeah. So this next point here, Ivor will eventually run across some group of assassins in England, though at this time the assassins and Templars are still being referred to as they were in AC Origins and Odyssey, the Hidden Ones and the Order of the Ancients.
Interesting.
Quite a bit of map you'll be able to explore here. Will be includes Norway, which players can return to after the Vikings leave, and the four kingdoms of England: Wessex, Northumbria, East Anglia, and Mercia.
Huh.
Major English cities include London, Winchester, and Jorvik.
Are we going to be able to, or I guess you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to use a ship to get to some of these places.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's not going to be just like the rivers of Origins.
Although you could probably fast travel to the different points, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then here, there's a weird thing that they mentioned, and I'm not sure what they're getting at with this. Maybe just to kind of talk about how big the game is or how much it incorporates of the past Assassin's Creed game. But they said, well, Valhalla is not meant to be the end of the series. They called it a good capper to the franchise so far, and should include a lot of nods to the franchise's history.
A good capper.
Yeah.
Could it be indicative of the last AC we're going to see for a while? Could it be indicative
It might,
of...
maybe it'll be a while, yeah.
Well, it could also be indicative of the end of the PS4.
Mm-hmm. Strange.
That's a good question. That's weird, right?
Yeah. So this is being made by Ubisoft Montreal. They're the ones who made Origins.
Okay.
They also made Black Flag as well.
I mean, Origins is good. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be going for a platinum if I didn't like it.
Right, yeah.
I will say, and I don't know whether this is bad, but I just skip all the cutscenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe not the main story stuff, but I definitely don't care about the people that need help.
So here's something to note as well. This will be they confirmed this will be a day one launch title for Xbox Series X and PS5.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So we already have a little bit of one thing of our launch lineup.
Yeah. Here's some pretty cool things here also that they're adding. So you can choose as a male or female, just like in Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
And they said both are canon, but I'm not sure. They were kind of like vague on what they meant by that. And I'm not sure why they would be vague on something like that.
One of them probably has a separate story.
Yeah. But does that mean if they're both canon, would there be value in playing both then? To get both stories?
Could it be an Animus thing?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, gear will also be much more customizable. Each piece of gear in the game will be unique.
Mm-hmm.
And new customization options include hair, tattoos, clothing, and war paint. Players will be able to make custom Viking raiders for their raiding parties and even share them with friends. You also get to forge a home for themselves, and either Vikings with the focus on building a settlement and making your Viking homestead.
Oh, man.
So that's kind of cool. That's kind of like AC3 a bit.
That's bringing me back.
And then do you
Wait
remember
a second, 3?
Yeah, you had that homestead in 3.
You had a homestead in 3?
You had that whole area where you would like build. You could like, give supplies to the different homes and stuff.
With Achilles in that, right?
Achilles.
Wasn't that guy's name?
I don't remember the guy's name.
The guy's name that you used to play chess with. The guy that lived in the manor house. And he like
sure.
helps
Oh,
you.
yeah.
I think his name was Achilles.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I remember that trading thing, but the homestead I'm thinking of is the one you build up in AC2.
Or AC2, yeah.
And Brotherhood, I think it's in there too. But you build up like Mario's villa or whatever. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
so they're bringing kind of that back.
Hot damn.
You could also do the same in Syndicate. You could buy upgrades to like your different outposts and stuff.
But I think this sounds like it's gonna be one particular spot, sort of like Black Flag, where you had like your one pirate island.
Yeah, the settlement will include buildings to upgrade, like blacksmith, barracks, tattoo parlor, and more.
Oh man, yep, that brings me back.
This sounds pretty cool too. Players will have have to make choices throughout the campaign, including political and personal alliances, dialogue choices, and more.
So that's how they're making both characters canon then. So canon means something different because if you're able to steer the story and the story's not being pulled along, it's not predetermined.
Right. And alliance examples include conducting a marriage to unite clans, while romance options will be available to the player too. So there you go. There's all the details we got.
It sounds like what they're doing is they're making it one of my favorite things that an RPG can do. And that is having more than just what's on your character be reflective of your progression through the game. Having a homestead and like I remember the art in AC2 and stuff, having all that stuff at home being displayed in like the weaponry area and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I love that type of stuff because it shows how rich you are, how much stuff you earned. Mm-hmm. It's so much so much better.
And you want to fill it out with new stuff.
Exactly, including the camp. Like the camp in Fallout 76 is another great example where the new players are obviously new players because they just have a little tiny wood camp, and then the high level players, if they put time into their camp optionally, like you can tell they're a high level character. You know, they have like a lot of great stuff.
So I'm pretty excited for this. I really loved Odyssey, and I know this isn't the Odyssey team, but I hope the Odyssey team is making a game after this as well. But
which Ubisoft did that?
I don't know the actual studio's name.
Okay.
Montreal's making this one. So there you go. More AC on the way.
Pretty good. And I'm actually excited after hearing all that. Actually.
Yeah, it should be pretty good. Although Matt, you got a lot of. Well, you don't really have to play them in order, I guess.
I was about to say, like, I like Egyptian stuff, and so that's why I don't care about I mean, that sounds weird. That's why I don't care about the side quests, because I just like to walk around the desert and look at pyramids and stuff. Because I'm a big Stargate fan, so I like Egyptian stuff. So that's why I'm liking it. I'm like going through the tombs and stuff. But so I took ancient history class, so like Greece interests me, and I understand the history of it. But the Vikings I know nothing about, so it's kind of going to be like a totally new thing to me. So I think both of them are unique enough I could play them in any order.
People compared it instantly to God of War.
Oh yeah,
but they said that God of War is kind of more mystical and more like the gods actually exist, you know.
And you rip their feet off.
And this one, it's more like the gods simply guide their ideals and their just like who they are as a people, more than actually existing.
Okay.
So they're not going to like get too heavily into like we're not going to be going to Asgard or anything like that.
Like it's basically modified. AC's always been modified history, not complete and utter like. There's wizards, you know.
Accurate in the sense of like what was going on in the politics and the history around that era.
Yeah.
But they definitely take their own creative freedoms with it.
I don't know if they continue this throughout the series, but the AC1, that your targets were people that actually went missing or actually died.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, what was I going to mention? Christ.
You sounded so excited too. You're like, man, what am I going to mention? And then
it was something I wanted to talk about, just real quick.
In terms of AC Valhalla?
Yeah.
You're talking about, once again, how weird a real good capper is for the story?
No. Anyway, let's move on. So Geoff Keighley has announced a 4-month summer game fest. So he revealed this Game Fest, an industry-wide celebration of video games that will run from May to August 2020 to deliver news, in-game events, and playable content. This comes to us from IGN. The news was first revealed by Keighley on Twitter, who posted a note outlining his ambitions for the game for the Summer Game Fest project. The Phase 1 lineup for the festival will include news from 2K, Activision, Bandai Namco, Bethesda, Blizzard, Bungie, CD Projekt Red, Digital Extremes, EA, PlayStation, Private Division, Riot Games, Square Enix, Steam, Warner Brothers, and Xbox.
Interesting.
So as well as just the news, the festival will also offer in-game events, playable content, and demos of select titles, as well as a number of announcements that are yet to be revealed. Playable game festivals from Steam and Xbox are expected to arrive soon, and the festival will incorporate panels and interviews with prolific developers and publishers in the games industry.
What does that mean? Playable game festivals from Steam and Xbox are expected to arrive soon.
I don't know what that means. Maybe they're going to be like demos you can play, or hell, who knows if you can stream them? I don't know.
Because it's not like we're going to be able to go to these things.
Right. I'm pretty impressed that he threw this together pretty quick, though.
Well, do you think this will be replacing the Game Awards at all?
No, I think that's his baby that he's been constantly growing. Although, I mean, it'd be tough to have the Game Awards now.
Maybe.
Depending on our situation in December.
The Game Awards can absolutely go without a crowd.
Yes,
and a lot of people don't show up for their trophies.
They could all send in videos, too.
They could all send in videos, too. Like, that would be very easy, actually, for them to do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'd be able to rent that theater by that point with limited crew.
Yeah, they'll be December, so that'll be quite a while, unless a second wave hits us. But
yeah, I mean, there's that, too.
Time will tell on this, but I'm happy that Geoff is doing this. He also commented on something that I've always felt is like the summer was always a special time for games because of E3, where you had all these announcements just in it just felt like a week of Christmas, you know. So I'm glad that he's trying to put something together to replace it for now. Maybe this will take over. Maybe this will beat. Maybe E3 will go away, and this will be the replacement. Who knows?
The thing about this event, and I thought of this right as I read the headline actually before the show, was all these game companies, and maybe I shouldn't say all these game companies, but a fair bit of game companies were saying about how they don't want to be relying on E3 and like the release window, or like having to wait and show off everything during the E3 event. Now, I don't know how many game companies did that. I know Sony did, which obviously under its belt includes a bunch. Mm-hmm. And probably a few others had said the same thing. But then this kind of comes along, and even though it's a 4-month window, it's still a 4-month window in which they kind of expect you to release what you have. So it kind of begs the question as to why is E3 suffering if something like this is coming around and we assume is going to be successful?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know why these publishers kind of fell out of love with E3. Maybe it was something behind the scenes. Maybe it was business decisions.
Self-fulfilling prophecy is my vote.
I mean, that's very much possible. Everyone just started all of a sudden and randomly turned on E3 and wants to see it collapse for some reason. I have no idea why. You know, I don't feel that way. I love E3. But do
you know what? This is interesting. So I had and I'll keep all the names anonymous, but I had a client one time say something, and he's big into the social media. And he said to me, it's really interesting, and I'm paraphrasing and taking out some information, but he said, whenever we post something, especially like an event or something that you would think is almost like self-exciting, if you will, like, yeah, there's an event, you know, and the event's excited to have their own event kind of thing.
Right.
It's almost like that, and many other posts as well of regular, like, hey, look at this video, and same thing. Any post really, they get like a lot of negative, like anger, you know, since you've been able to do more than just like on Facebook. He said there's a lot of like, you know, the angry faces or the laughing faces. Like if someone like writes a guide about something, just that simple, then someone puts like the laughing face. So clearly they're like, like what a loser, because he did this guide, and it's very strange. But I wonder if it goes beyond that, and this is how big events that rely on something like social media and, you know, YouTube and stuff like that to get out there to the world, like E3, I wonder if these events are actually suffering from this sort of negative wave, if you will, on the social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was talking to you the one time a couple weeks ago, and I was saying, like, if someone keeps downplaying or like really criticizing something that I'm doing, even though I might disagree with them, I will adjust my behavior. And I will be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. 76 was a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, every time I went to talk to somebody, I knew I was going to get this feel like, how's your 76, bud?
Right.
And then that made me not want to play 76. Even though I did do it, like, I pushed through it. But if I was a lesser Fallout fan, maybe I wouldn't have. And I wonder how much, maybe I'm more susceptible or something. But I'm sure there's other people out there that would be susceptible to similar stuff where, since everyone's making fun of it, like, I would feel weird talking about The Walking Dead again, for example. Mm-hmm. I'd just feel weird about it, even though I actually fell out of love with it by my own accord.
Yeah.
But if I tried to get back into it, it would feel weird.
It's almost like a mild form of cyber peer pressure.
Yeah. Yep.
I only go into the comments when I'm looking to find a train wreck. I don't go in there to actually absorb opinions. You know what I mean?
Yes, like if you read something serious, like a COVID-19 article, I absolutely can't go into the comments anymore because it's so stupid. Like, it's nonsense.
And I think like before social media existed, you were kind of, and I guess time will tell whether this was better or worse, but you and your friend group and family group or whatever, you would all develop like interests, right?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't see all this outside hatred from these weird people out there, right?
Yeah.
So you would just be fans of The Walking Dead, and you would just love the show and watch it every week and talk to it with your friends, and you all just watch it.
Yeah.
And now with social media, it's like people look at this stuff, and companies look at this stuff and treat it as if it's this great insight into the population's mind, and they take it way too seriously.
The one like particular case that actually affected me was, I remember we did a Let's Play. I don't even know if it was ever published, a Let's Play of The Outfit. And I remember like really enjoying that game, playing it with a couple of friends and stuff like that in very early high school, if not late elementary school. And I played the crap out of that game, beat it, got all like the secret weapons and everything, like whatever, beat all the difficulties, played it online, the whole bit. And then I remember we did like a Let's Play, and you and Adriano were like, this game is like horrendous. Like, not only aged, it's actually bad. And I was like, no, this isn't. And you guys were like convinced, like, no, this is a bad game. Like, actually a bad game, objectively. And if we actually take a look, let's take a look, because like I haven't really looked at this Metacritic. Let's take a look at the Metacritic for this game.
I don't remember this game.
The Outfit is that World War II game where you can build
turrets
and stuff like that to defend points and stuff like that. I loved that. Like, I went nuts for that. I love that stuff. Let's see, The Outfits. Yeah, it's only a 70, and it's an Xbox 360 game.
That's,
a 70
that's pretty
overall.
Good, though.
Yeah, 7.6. Now, the 8, like, you can assume probably a 10 to 15 point deduction for age. Like, if you played it today and you were like, man, this is old. But you guys really didn't like it. Like a 2 or 3 out of 10.
It's one of those things, though, where, like, the handling of the game is a big deal now, because, like, the way games handle today is so much more fluid, and old games just feel clunky now, even though they might not have been clunky in the day.
I suppose that's true, yeah.
Yeah, I remember this game now, looking at the screenshots and stuff.
And, like, I can play that game till today. Like, if they release an HD version of it, I'd buy it. But the company's dead, so there's that.
When did this game come out?
This game came out early 360. It was one of the very first 360 games I had, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I wonder what maybe it's hard to tell how to gauge now what people think about stuff. Like, could they do a survey on people's opinions on E3, and can you now trust that survey and not just have a bunch of trolls on there saying, "Oh yeah, E3 sucks," you know?
You know, it's interesting that you bring up the trolls in that, because it seems like there's waves of stuff. So there's waves of review bombing, which throws things out. There's also the whole idea of the quote unquote sheeple, where it's like, oh, everyone just likes this. And
Yeah.
then there's the idea of like, if everyone likes it, then it's not actually good and I can't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's almost like 3 different waves of reviews or emojis if you're using the Facebook, like system where like there's almost like there's like that those are your 3 waves. There's probably some more, but those are your like 3 waves that can skew things way out of proportion. It's almost like that those are the tools that the vocal minority bring, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I really wish we should just get rid of comment sections. It just they kill me. I hate when I
hate
see
it,
it too on news websites. It's like you don't need a comment section. A newspaper does not have a comment section. Please, we don't need to hear someone ramble on about something they have no idea about.
That's probably the number one problem is we don't know how well they're like how much information they have on the given topic. Right. And so we're presented with their opinion, which may be from thousands and thousands of hours of being in the field and more than the reporter himself doing his research. But at the same time, it could also be from him reading the headline, getting pissed off, and just splurting something out.
And that's what it mostly is if you read any Twitter replies on like a news article.
Oh, yeah.
If you read the article and then read the replies, you can clearly tell they never read that article.
Oh, there's a few of those, yeah, 100%. Like they'll be like, "Well, why is the camera the wrong way?" It's like it isn't. They really explain it.
Yeah, and I've kind of made a rule for myself too. Whenever I share an article to like my friends or like even you or anyone,
right?
I read that entire article before I send it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just so I know what I'm sending and what's going on.
Full disclosure, I do not do that when I share articles. So
no, I think I know that. Yeah.
Okay. There's been times where you correct me and I'm like, oh, I was pissed off, but okay. Like I'm not a commenter that often, but like, okay.
Mm-hmm. No, we're all victims to it, but I just think that we don't need Twitter. We don't need Twitter people.
No, it's annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. So The Last of Us Part 2 got a big leak apparently. I think I heard it was cutscenes and like plot details and all sorts of stuff. So Sony kind of did an investigation and they discovered that it is not someone affiliated with Sony and Naughty Dog. This comes to us from IGN. So they confirmed that the company has identified those who leaked large parts of The Last of Us Part 2 online. In a statement first reported by GameIndustry.biz and confirmed by IGN, Sony offered an update on its search for the leakers, and they said SIE has identified the primary individuals responsible for the unauthorized release of The Last of Us 2 assets. They are not affiliated with Naughty Dog or SIE. We are unable to comment further because the information is subject to an ongoing investigation. We're looking forward to when The Last of Us Part 2 will be in your hands and can't wait for you to enjoy the experience on June 19th. So who could this possibly be now if it's not someone at Naughty Dog and Sony?
Would a contractor count?
Probably not, right? Or I mean, like, they would probably fit the not affiliated thing. I think what they're meaning when they say not affiliated is like someone who doesn't work for Sony or Naughty Dog.
But
right?
What if it was somebody who they hired early on or maybe midway through, so there were cutscenes and stuff done. Mm-hmm. They hire you midway through to do the something as simple as doing the closed captioning / the subtitles. Right. And you do that. And because you did that, you have access to those assets. You keep them. You wait a while. Your contract's up. And then you release the stuff, possibly months or a year later. Mm-hmm. And so you're not affiliated. But you were. Unless somebody broke in. Like somebody could have hacked in or something.
Well, that's interesting. Because, not affiliated would kind of sounds broader than just employees, right?
Yeah.
If you're affiliated with Sony or Naughty Dog, you could be a contractor. Yeah, they're affiliated with Naughty Dog, right?
But they couldn't necessarily say formally affiliated because that lessens the pool and people could try to hunt you down.
Right. Now, this is pretty nasty stuff. People are actually sending this to some gaming press and leaking or spoiling The Last of Us on the press. That's pretty weird.
Stuff like this, like, it sounds really dumb, but like stuff like this to me makes me like want to just not care about anything. You know what I mean? It's like these people, even though this is just a game, but like these people exist in everything, and they try to ruin stuff, whatever it is. These are the people that would pop a hole in your boat the day you were trying to go boating.
Yeah.
these are these type of people, and I just hate it.
I find this a little different than like the next iPhone leaking, right? People are still going to buy it regardless of when it was leaked. But,
because it's not a spoiler. It's not like no one's like, oh, and it does have a camera,
right?
Like,
but this is literally like, especially with The Last of Us, which is so story oriented. That could be it's a big blow to some fans. I definitely do not want to have this leak spoiled on me. So
if someone spoiled a Fallout on me, I'd be really pissed.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't follow a lot of non-official people, and I kind of don't go on Reddit. So I think I'm pretty isolated from leaks for most things.
And even like this is an intentional thing. Like even getting things spoiled by your friends accidentally is annoying too.
Yeah.
I remember that whole incident. That whole incident where our friend Wes came in to the PlayStation party, and we're all just chatting, and Adriano was in there, and he just said he was going to talk about Red Dead, despite Adriano having not played the game.
Yeah.
And Adriano was like, okay, and he just left. That was the end of it, and I didn't hear from him the rest of the night. Yeah, so there's that.
It sucks too when someone says something. I think I spoiled it slightly for you, even because I was trying to protect you, but in my attempt to protect you from the spoiler, it kind of gave truth to what Wes was saying.
Yes.
Yeah. So even that sucks.
It was a little annoying. I didn't know what was going to happen. At least
Mm-hmm.
I just had my suspicions, and then there were a couple of weird things that happened, and then I noticed those, and I took more attention to them because I was like, that kind of lines up with what Wes was saying.
Right.
But I didn't actually... Luckily, it wasn't like, the ending is,
Yeah, it wasn't a big spoiler, but still a spoiler nonetheless. Also, speaking of The Last of Us Part 2, the download is going to be 100 gigabytes minimum.
What is this, a Call of Duty update? Oh,
well,
man.
The reason I deleted Call of Duty was to make my backup faster when transferring my drive. And it was over like I think it was like 115 gigs or something.
And there was a 15 or 30 gig patch yesterday, or like that's when I downloaded anyway. But yeah,
like Red Dead's over 100 gigs. This is getting nuts. I can't. I gotta move, Matt. I gotta. I need some internet here.
Well, it's not even that though. What about hard drive spaces? Like we're talking about consoles that need these special hard drives or extremely expensive, extremely fast hard drives. We're talking about run out of the hard drive space. Like we're not what's going on here?
This is the scary part: is when the PS4 and Xbox One launched, games were like 40 gigs. Now they're over 100. So we're entering this next gen at games being over 100 gigs. So what are they going to be at the end of next generation?
There's 100 gig patches. There's like 98 gig patches of some of these games.
So that's going to be real bad.
Well, that's pretty rare, but it's possible. Like that's nuts. Yeah. My first hard drive was 10 gig.
They might. This might make it impossible almost to have physical media at some point, right?
The physical media, I think, a lot these days, especially, really is just the license and the base amount of stuff. Like if you have a dual layer Blu-ray, you can get a lot of. I can't remember how big those are, but you can get a lot on there.
Red Dead, I think, was 2 Blu-ray discs, was it not?
I have it on Xbox One. Yes, that's right. 1 install disc, 1 play disc.
Right.
The physical media still makes sense. In your case, you have slow internet, so it actually makes sense for you. It also makes sense for people that just play single player. Like, for example, Marty has, or at least I don't know if he's done it recently, but I don't know, several months into his Switch, he said to me that he still hadn't hooked it up to the internet, and I haven't heard about it since. So the fact, like, he needs it. Like, he would need physical media. And so physical media, as long as it doesn't require that day one patch, then it makes sense. You know what I mean?
He could easily hook up his Switch to the internet. I don't know why he hasn't done it yet.
But I don't know, like, maybe he just doesn't need it. Like,
I asked him for his friend's code, and he said he hasn't set it up yet.
Oh, so he still hasn't done it then.
No. Thankfully, though, the preload schedule is like a few days before the game launch. I can download 100 gigs in a couple days. So,
and to be honest, that's really good, even in comparison to a lot of people. I know a lot of people where they can't even do that.
Yeah, but I also think I'm hoping that this whole shelter in place, work from home thing might force my community to invest in some infrastructure down here. There's been talk about it for a couple of years now. So
Did you hear that it's some of the projects like across Canada? There's like some sort of speaking at a very high level with very minimal research across Canada. There's some sort of like rural internet rule that's going on where it's like you have to have high speed internet even in rural like farming communities. That is actually ahead of schedule due to this.
Oh, wow.
Or despite this, I think, or something
that was
like that.
That was a CRTC ruling.
Okay, so but I think it was Bell talking totally from reading a headline once 2 weeks ago. So please, take it with a grain of salt. But I read that it's either on schedule or it's actually ahead of schedule despite this social distancing thing.
So they're still working even with this happening.
Because it's probably one dude. It's like run a wire out there. They bring in like a team of 2. You're probably allowed to do that. Internet is close to, if not already considered a utility in Canada. So it's like you're doing utility work. That's probably considered essential work, I would assume.
Yeah. You know what the biggest hang up for me is just having the low upload speed.
That's due to the fact that you have DSL. DSL is technologically limited to upload. Yeah,
but if I had the same upload speed as I had download speed, it wouldn't get bottlenecked as easily. Because right now, like my download speed is okay. It's not ideal, obviously, for a family of 4, but it's okay. But what happens is as soon as something uploads something, it kills the download speed.
Oh yeah, it kills everything.
And so it's like it's not even worth having what little download speed we have. As soon as someone's uploading a picture to Facebook, it's like everything goes down here.
Yeah, I will say that like I had AOL actually, AOL Canada, AOL for broadband in Canada, or whatever it was called, for a long time, till a few years ago, and I had 5 meg down and like really slow up. I can't even remember what it was, but I hardly uploaded. And then when we started doing the YouTube thing, that's when I actually really was like, man. Like, I need better internet. And then work obviously attributed to that. But I went from 60 to around 100, like a 60 meg down. Like, I think it was up and down. So 60 up and down, or maybe it was like 60 and 10 up or something. I can't remember. And then I went to a fiber, because that was cable. That was the 60. Then I went to 100 up and down, or around there anyway. And then and now I'm at 250 up and down. And to be blunt, like, the 60 was totally fine. Like, I know the one guy we know, Nate, he just recently got 25 or 20. And I was telling him, like, you're reaching the point where, like, sure, downloading Call of Duty is going to be slower than it is like here, but it's not going to be like, great, I can't play for 3 days. It's going to be like, damn, I got to wait an hour.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting to that point where it doesn't really affect you other than in the moment. And when, like, how often is that,
Yeah, so that's how it was with, so I just had I got the Switch, right? And I just bought, Breath of the Wild. At my house, it was like saying, I think it was like 17 hours to download.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to my other house that has like 40 down, it was like an hour.
Yeah, so it's at the point where it's totally usable, and there's enough space in there where if everyone started downloading, all the downloads would slow down.
Mm-hmm.
But the chances of everyone all downloading, and the fact that everyone can download,
right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then our final story for this week. Your story, Matt.
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about a weird thing that happened, but I'll let you introduce it, obviously.
So Brothers in Arms is getting a TV show adaptation. This comes to us from IGN. Gearbox Software is adapting its World War II shooter series, Brother in Arms, into a TV show with the help of showrunner Scott Rosenbaum. The show will follow a team of 8 soldiers on a mission to rescue their colonel from the Nazis before they discover the D-Day plans. It will explore both Allied and Axis sides of the war and feature characters based on real people from the period. Now, Matt, you were a big fan of the Brother in Arms series?
Yes, 100%, yeah. Brothers in Arms with an S.
Oh, okay. There's not an S in that one paragraph there.
That's weird. But yeah, no, it is Brothers in Arms, yeah. Because it's the 8 soldiers, yeah.
Yeah. So apparently the game series was known for its historic accuracy.
Yep.
And they actually used like maps and actual 1940s military strategies and stuff. And apparently the story has not been told before in any other medium other than the games. And so they're finally bringing it over to a TV. Now, you had something, you had a story about this.
Yeah, so, well, first off, I'm a big fan of this, and I hope that this is indicative of them bringing a game back, because a game and a TV show together would be like a big hype train, obviously, for people. But I remember the first game. Okay, so the first game comes out, it's Road to Hill 30. Second game comes out. It's called Earned in Blood, and Earned in Blood is very similar in story to Crisis Warhead. One second, I'm gonna cough. So basically, what that means is that Warhead follows. Basically, the soldiers drop on D-Day and then they separate. So one team is run by you in the first game, Matt Baker, and the second team is run by a guy whose nickname is Red. And Red like goes off and does stuff, and then occasionally they come back together. Like they'll, one guy will flank around and do all this crap in a village, come back around and kill the tank for the other team or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and the game's strategic, like you order your troops around. It's the first game where like suppressing fire was a big thing. It's like this team suppress, this team flank, you go around here, and then like stuff like that. So I really like it for that. That was one of my favorite parts. But anyway, so those two games, like they intertwined. Like you would see Baker in your game as you played as Red in Earned in Blood. They decided in Hell's Highway that you'd be Matt Baker again. That's totally fine. Now this is the weird thing. So way back in the day, I remember this game was supposed to be revolutionary. There were supposed to be several civilians in the game. They were supposed to be perfect accuracy. So one of the things that the Brothers in Arms series really struggled with was you aim down the sight, the gun wasn't 100% accurate, even if you were aiming right at somebody. Because the game was supposed to be like, these guys suppress, these guys shoot from the flank, and then therefore you like shoot enough bullets that you killed them, right? It was kind of more strategy than Call of Duty. So they were like, guns are going to be totally like accurate. That was a big thing. And then they showed off this demo where there was a spotter on the roof and you could stealthily kill him. They showed a thing where you were walking through the backyards of some people in Holland, I believe it was. That's where Hell's Highway was, because that was like a real term back then. And maybe it was Austria. I think it was Holland though. But anyway, wherever Hell's Highway was. So you're walking through these backyards of these like conjoined houses, and you look up and this like civilian points in front of their sheet. So to you, it looks like all these sheets are like in on a clothesline drying, and all you see is these sheets floating around. And there's actually a German soldier behind the sheet, and the civilian is indicating to you to shoot through the sheet.
Oh my god!
And so you go like bang bang, and you kill him. Like, so this game was supposed to be really big. Like I remember they had like a whole thing about the one guy's like rocket launcher was named Stella, and your soldiers were like quote unquote real people that could make mistakes. Like you would order them to do something, but they might actually have a slip up.
Oh wow!
And stuff like that. It was supposed to be this huge thing. And there is a demo. There is footage of this. I don't know whether IGN still has it, but I know I've seen some recordings of it recently. I've just seen a couple minutes of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. It's IGN footage, and I think I don't know for sure. I think it's Randy Pitchford taking us through the set. Like, hey, look, here's the spotter. Here's civilians. Here's this. Here's that. I remember that. Bought that game. Nothing like that. No, I don't even remember any civilians really.
Oh boy.
I don't remember that Stella thing. The game like wasn't as good in my opinion as the other ones. The accuracy thing was correct. The graphics looked correct. I don't know whether they had to cut a bunch of stuff, but they cut like everything. There were no cool encounters like that civilian telling you to shoot through the sheet that I remember at all. All that stuff. And if you look at the comments on the one video I looked at on YouTube, like which is kind of a throwback to this, people were like, do you remember like when they were talking about this and this game did not turn out like this at all? And that's exactly what happened. So like what a crazy like and I remember talking to people about it back then and they were like, Matt, you're crazy. And I was like, no, like this happened, like for sure. And if you looked up Brothers in Arms Hell's Highway at the time, you would just find the trailers and people would be like, Matt, no, they're showing what it is. And I'd be like, no, like I don't know what it was called, but like I know for sure that I seen this footage. There was a whole walkthrough and it was completely different. So like that was the first game ever that ever didn't meet expectation, like that I noticed. Where I was like so fired up to play this and I was like, what the hell is this game? It's so weird.
That sucks.
So yeah, I don't know, just a little story. So I hope that maybe they can bring that game, the one that they advertised or something similar, because that would even be cool today.
It's probably one of those things, especially back then, where this happens a lot apparently in video games, is where they announce all these mechanics that they technically are working on, but they just fall away for technical reasons or budget reasons or who knows what else. And so oftentimes the game they first announce to the world is not the game you get at the end. But it's not necessarily lying. It's simply that what was possible changed. You know.
Yeah, like a lot of people said, like, oh, this is where Gearbox turned, or this is where Gearbox changed and started getting greasy. And I was like, I get that they were probably like that was ambitious for the time, very ambitious, and
Right.
like we'd never seen a shooter like that. It was always like Call of Duty, run in there and kill those people. Like
that sounds awesome though. If they could do something like that,
it'd be freaking awesome. Like seeing the spotters and all that. Like hell yeah. Or one of the things I remember was they were saying something like there was a gun. And I'm pulling this from memory from like over 10 years ago. There was a gun that was shooting. It was a Flak 88, very large, very loud gun. And if you wanted to stealthily kill the spotter, and there's no mechanic that tells you to do this, no UI, you just have to do this. You have to aim, get ready, and shoot when the Flak shoots. And then no one will hear your shot.
Wow.
And so you're still remaining stealth. And that blew me away, and then it all went to shit. But... I have the collector's edition to my right.
So I'm hoping the TV show is good. I'm wondering where it will air, if it will be like a streaming service or actually on old TV.
That's interesting. Yeah, like Ubisoft was the publisher on this, on Brothers in Arms.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I wonder if this would be I wonder if this would be Ubisoft Films. I think that was a thing.
Well, it depends on whether. Gearbox sounds like they actually own the rights, so
yeah, Gearbox was the dev. Yeah.
Ubisoft might have just published and actually doesn't own any or have any involvement in this now.
That's very true. They could have dropped out of the involvement with it, yeah, because it's been a long time.
Yeah, but I always think whenever I think of World War II shows, I think of what's the other one? Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers. Yep.
It's a very similar title as well.
I make a mistake every single time with Band of Brothers. I've tried to watch it through several times, and I think I've seen it all in piecemeal. But I always make the mistake of I boot it up and I binge it, and it's a heavy series.
Oh, yeah.
And I get like near the end, and I'm like, "Fuck, this guy's gonna die," and I just turn it off, and I just can't. I can't handle it. Like I get to the point because like these guys got PTSD. Now I'm all upset too, you know, and it's like, "Fuck, I can't watch this anymore." And I can't watch the Pacific.
I tried watching that. I found that pretty boring.
I saw a really, really bad scene. It was on TV one time. Scrolling through the channels, like, oh, the Pacific, I'll watch a little bit. It was like a really horrible scene. And I was like, oh, I'm not watching this series.
I'm just wondering if there's so much World War II content.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I just wonder how this was going to do.
It'll probably do good on, like... I'd say a purely streaming service, and I think it'll do good if it comes with a game. Although that might just be my fandom, like wanting another game.
But I mean, The Witcher is was a big show, and that was I know it's based off a book, and the show was kind of more a combination of the two. I think both the book and the game. But yeah, I think definitely streaming is the best way to go for video game adaptations.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that. It's almost like the influencer way, you know how like advertising with influencers is like the trendy thing. It's like the streaming is where you're going to find the video game watching crew. Yeah.
All right, so we'll be looking forward to that. And let's get on to the query corner, Matt.
Heck yeah.
You submitted this one. With online games going with the constant updates to drip feed us content, are they creating more chaos for themselves as developers? For example, Red Dead Online has been beaten by us, and yet their only updates for months have been some clothes and XP bonuses, no new roles or content. This results in less players actively playing and more players bugging them online to add stuff, putting pressure on developers. Basically, how little content is too little. I think. Do you want to expand on this at all, or?
Yeah, sure. So the reason, like, I guess I'll touch on what we mean. What I mean by we beat Red Dead Online is there's the roles, right? Hunters, hunting, bounty hunting. They added moonshining. There's something else, the collector, and all three of us. So you, Ryan, or you, Aaron, and myself, we all play Red Dead Online, or at least we did, and we beat the crap out of it.
Yeah.
We are max level in those roles. We have like a fair bit of money. Yes, we could grind for gold. Yes, we could redo missions, but there's nothing new there, and there hasn't been for a while now. There is also typically an outlaw pass, which is like a battle pass, and that came to an end, and we've only ever had this. There's only been 2 total, but at the end of the first one, shortly after the next one came out, So I'm, expecting an announcement or something. This COVID thing could have screwed it up, right? But I guess to expand on this applies to other games too, where they drip feed us content so slowly that the player base gets stale and they leave. Fallout 76 prime example. Wastelanders got delayed, right? But let's just say that it was supposed to come out now, which wouldn't be outrageous. There was a long period in between the time of the last update. Then there was the original Wastelanders scheduled thing. They skipped it, or they had a delay, and then you continue, and there's nothing. You know what I mean? So there's like that last update. You wait. Oh, this update got delayed. Wait, and it makes the gameplay stale. Like, I didn't play the game for almost 6 months. I think around 6 months. I didn't even check the Atomic Shop, nothing. And I didn't even have it updated because there just wasn't anything there. And being a huge Fallout fan, you'd figure I would be checking in. Even Aaron said that they need more content on Red Dead Online. And again, could be due to COVID, but it's like, are they hurting themselves by drip feeding us now? Drip feeding us is supposed to keep us there, but are they now drip feeding us too little and they've overstepped?
There's definitely a balance there, because I remember we heard stories about how hard the Epic developers were working on Fortnite content, constantly coming out with new content, and they haven't slowed down since. It's been nuts. I think they might be working themselves too hard.
Yeah, honestly.
And yeah, it's like, I don't know how you're supposed to do it, because people complete stuff like instantly nowadays, right?
They go right for the end.
I'm sure people beat Wastelanders like the same day. You know what I mean? More
likely. Yep.
I wonder what the average player, how long they stay on after an update like that.
Well, I've learned something interesting. So we actually seem to go back to games a fair bit when content comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people that are gamers that don't actually pay attention to gaming news. And so they're completely unaware when stuff like this comes out. For example, I have a bunch of friends that play just like right now that just play Call of Duty. They only really pay attention to Call of Duty. They don't know about the latest Fortnite patch or something, even though they don't play Fortnite. But they don't know about that. Whereas like you and I, we kind of keep in touch to an extent, or like I don't really read that much. I more so get it from the show. Yeah. But even still, like we talk about it or you share it or something. So there's like our like normal interaction includes this. Whereas a lot of other people, they don't get these updates. Like they don't even know what happened. So like you'll hear people talk about it and they'll be like, oh, you're still playing Red Dead? Like, what happened in that game? And they haven't played it since before strangers were introduced.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like, well, there's all these people you can do missions for. Like, you can do missions for them? And it's like, yeah, but no one really does those anymore. It's all about the roles. Like, what's a role? You can do a job. Oh, there's jobs in the game now? It's like, well, yeah. And so, like, they could have been a player, but they were drip fed, and they didn't, like, their time with the game is either done, or it's going to take someone, total fluke of a conversation, to bring them back.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if a lot of people might be like Laura, who plays 76 with us. She kind of makes a camp, right? Makes it really nice and cool. Mm-hmm. And then she'll move on somewhere else and make a new camp. And that's just kind of what she's been doing in between, finishing the main game and waiting for Wastelanders to come out. And I wonder if people just have that one game that they always go back to and kind of fiddle around and hang out in and.
For years, and I've said this on the show a million times, is I want a game that I always go back to. And there are a couple of them now, but I don't play them as much as I'd like, I think. Mm-hmm. Something like Red Dead, we've kind of beaten, if you will, as I've already stated. But something like, I was going to say 76, I guess. Like, I could have been a lot further in terms of my player build and farming better weapons and stuff if I had played during those 6 months.
Right.
And I feel like they could have really, instead of just giving us Fallout first in lieu of Wastelanders, they really could have given us more updates and stuff like that. I understand it's a lot of work though, right? And so like right there, I'm putting pressure, figuratively, on Bethesda Game Studios or Game whatever it is, BGS, Bethesda Game Studios, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm putting pressure on those developers there when realistically they could have just released the online, or at least I guess in this case the whole game, with more stuff in it and just push the launch date back by a year or something. And then I'm not pushing them, and I don't really like tweet at people too often or anything like that. There's people out there that do that, and a lot of them, and that's a lot of pressure. Like, could you imagine being a dev and reading the comments on your own project?
Right.
And you're going to feel like crap going into work, I would say, especially if people are calling for... I remember Fortnite, they had that one Halloween update. It was the first time that they added the zombies. And oh my God, the people were pissed. And like, they were like seriously pissed.
Yeah.
And like, you know, that would feel horrible, especially since they've been drip feeding us rapid fire. But it's like, they're going to feel like really horrible. But if they had like pushed out a big full game, you know, hundreds of skins and everything, there's no like drip feeding of the skins, everything's done, the devs aren't like killing themselves, then they push out another update and people are pissed at them about that update. In my opinion, as if I putting myself in their shoes, I would think to myself, okay, you know, our last update like screwed up, where can we do better? But if I've been working my ass off this whole time and then you're just ragging on me the whole time, you know, it's not gonna, you know, that's not gonna be healthy. That's not good.
I don't know what the solution is, because you clearly it's difficult to produce that much content to keep people constantly entertained, you know.
It's gotta be like almost impossible, right?
I think it's a little different with Fortnite, because Fortnite's just like a multiplayer game where you play the game over and over, the same game over and over again, effectively. But it's the experiences within that same game that change. But where Fallout, it's like we've done all the missions, and we've done all the events 1,000 times. There's really not much else to entertain us with, you know.
Yeah.
It needs new content to keep it going.
I find that Red Dead is like, I understand like some people will put it in a class of its own, and it deserves that to an extent. But the online falls into the class of, you know, it's not it for the most part. In our friend group, we play the PvE, which is like a totally viable way to play it. We don't really play the PvP at all. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have that Fortnite experience where everything is like new because I'm feeling, you know, accomplished for beating another player. I don't feel super accomplished for beating some NPC unless they were particularly difficult. Right. And so, you know, we need a steady stream of content to keep us like happy, and running around attacking gang hideouts and attacking those moonshine hideouts and then doing the same, you know, 5 or 6 moonshiner missions. Just, I'm sorry, but it's not cutting it. It falls into, like, I'd almost put Red Dead kind of into the same camp as something like Left 4 Dead, where Left 4 Dead was designed to be played over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And there was a limited amount of missions, and you could absolutely get through that game in a day. And if you said, let's just say, ignore the PvP of Left 4 Dead, because that's a big part of it. Let's just say that. Realistically, in terms of the amount of mechanics and such, like, you're kind of getting the same thing. Like, Red Dead Online feels like a game that had a chunk ripped out of it. Yeah. The same way to me that Left 4 Dead, I love Left 4 Dead, but Left 4 Dead without Versus, to me, feels like there's a huge chunk missing there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What would you say? Let's use Red Dead, since we played that a lot and have a lot of experience with it. What would you say Red Dead should do? Do you think they should keep drip feeding us, or do you think they should release like a real big patch to keep us all going?
Depends on whether they want consistent, constant players, or if they just want a burst of players when the thing launches. I don't know what is possible, given the time it takes and the effort it takes to make content. Mm-hmm. I don't think it is possible to drip feed something. Like, what could they possibly drip feed you that they could come up with new content? Let's say monthly, or even, I don't know, maybe quarterly is more realistic.
Just solely having the Outlaw Pass. So the other Outlaw Pass, like the second one, for example. So the first one ended, the second one comes out, and the second one has the Moonshiner role with it as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing the Moonshiner role. As I'm doing that, I'm earning, you know, I'm doing my Outlaw Pass. And then I finish my Moonshiner, and I need to get a little bit more to my Outlaw Pass. So I go and I play some of the old content. But it's a little bit refreshing because I'm working toward a new goal. I'm working toward getting that new outfit and those new rewards. They could drip feed us more. They could drip feed us more than they have been. by solely releasing an Outlaw Pass
Well,
and no actual content alongside it other than what was in the Outlaw Pass.
that is a fair point, but like I said, with Fortnite, they had back-to-back game passes, or what do they call them? Battle passes, right? And apparently they were killing themselves trying to make all this content. It's not sustainable.
No, yeah, I agree with that. Like,
Unless you just hire a ton of people, you know?
One thing that they could do, though, is, like, the thing with Red Dead is that there's not even that much variance in the missions.
Yeah.
You know, I'm fine with redoing missions if there's like a fair bit of variance, or the missions are, you know, semi-complex and they actually help me. Like, if I was building like a thing that I think they're going to add to the game, and I got the idea from a Reddit thread who also had the same idea, so I'm taking that person's, you know, idea, and it probably makes sense. Do you remember, massive Red Dead spoiler coming up right now, do you remember when you build the house for John?
Yeah.
They're gonna, if you notice, there was a bunch of stuff in that catalog. On PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, they're gonna re-release Red Dead Redemption 2 with a huge patch, and you're gonna be able to build a homestead from a catalog.
200 gigs.
Well, I mean, very possibly. But, like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually a thing, because that would, like, just so happen to be modular, and you just so happen to have more than one catalog. Like, you could have had John in the cutscene just choose something without me seeing the catalog, but no, I went and looked at that catalog and saw the other pages.
Yeah.
And so, most definitely there's going to be, like, and they made it very clear that there was multiple, like, modular houses. Modular
cool.
pieces. So,
cool.
I bet you that's what's going to come out with the next thing. But they could, like, so having something like that, right, has me I'll go do bounties all day to get my new shed, you know, because I feel like the bounties are doing something more than just getting me basic gold or money, or getting me a new suit. Like, I'm happy with the way my character looks. It's the same with Fortnite. Like, even if I go to play it today, I don't need that latest season crap. I just want to run in there and have fun. I have so many freaking costumes and skins that I don't care. And I know that it's never going to end, you know, lest the game dies itself. So I'm not going to keep playing the game consistently forever to beat the battle passes. I'm happy with the skins I have, and then that's it. They need to, in Red Dead or these other games, I think, give us, like, Wastelanders is a good example. Wastelanders is a big thing. Now, they've said it's foundational and stuff like that, and they can do some stuff with it, but it's a big thing to chew on. Having a house in Red Dead, big thing to chew on. Having moonshiners, having the moonshiner role, getting there, but it's not quite there. Only 4 missions, easy to max it out, not the biggest money maker, doesn't feel that great. But if you could open up a big moonshining, like, ring and, like, have it be constantly pinging on the map, I'd be totally down for that. But it just feels like it's just a little bit to chew on. I think what they need to do is they need to release less frequent updates, but ones that are more replayable, where I actually feel like I'm getting something for my replay. And that way, I'm off of the devs' backs. If I hate an update that comes out, I'm able to go back to the old content, and I'm able to enjoy that still and be like, I'm just not going to do that new update. And I'm going to continue playing. And then I'm still going to keep my ear to the ground for new updates, so that if I stop playing because I've, you know, really beaten the crap out of what I like to do, maybe the next update's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I do think an Outlaw Pass would help even right now. We'd probably get back into it if the new Outlaw Pass was announced.
I'd probably give it a go. Yeah, like I'd probably because it's not that hard to finish them. And then you're earning something. You know, that's what I need. I don't want just money and gold. Like
you're definitely right that you will do the mundane tasks to achieve a new reward. Yeah.
You need that reward, and it can't just be we have new hats on sale only for 10 days. I don't care.
Yeah.
It has to be substantial.
Yeah.
If you're going to give me something, I'll go and do the Scorched Queen, you know, in Fallout 76. I'll do the Scorched Queen 10 damn times if you're going to give me a new lamp for my camp.
Right.
Like, seriously though, okay, every single time that quest pops up, okay, and I'd go down there and do it.
It just gives you a goal, right?
It gives me a goal, and it makes it feel like, all right, I'm working towards something. Like right now, where I'm working and I'm powering myself up, but I'm also doing it because I'm doing, you know, the odd mission here and there, or I'm helping you guys, or I'm looking to move camp as well.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, in those 6 months that I was gone, I didn't care. Like, people were saying, look at this stuff in the Atomic Shop. It's like, I'm not earning that. Like, all I'm doing is logging in and pressing claim. Like, it just feels so cheap, and I'm not doing that.
All right, that's all we got, Matt.
That was a pretty good one, I think.
Yeah.
I'll pat myself on the back.
I don't have a timer. Do you have a timer over there?
Yep, 1:33-ish.
Holy poop.
Pretty good.
All right, thanks for listening, guys. We also stream on the Wednesdays on twitch.tv/DayOnePatchMedia if you want to catch us there.
Man, we had a pretty cool experience last time. We had a viewer join us. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. We were playing SimCity. Also, feel free to suggest any games you would like us to see us play.
Yeah, anything on PC, I guess, or console too. I was literally about to say we don't have a capture card. Well, we literally have been using it for this entire time, minus this new stuff.
Also, I have a capture card.
Oh, so yeah. Suggest anything. Please suggest anything. We have it all.
All right. See you guys.
Peace.